Hello YouTube, I'm Wendy from Language Enthusiast. Okay, actually I'm in the bathroom now. Okay, why I'm here? Because this is the only place that I can videotape myself today after my daughter is awake. My daughter woke up a little while ago and I was putting on my makeup. I was getting ready for my daily practice, and then I found out that she was just woken up, and she had just woken up, and this is the only place that I can feel relaxed when speaking English. So that's why I chose this place. I don't like my hair. I don't know how to deal with it. Okay. Is it messy? I hope not. Okay. Well, someone, one of the people who watched my video asked me how I studied English and when I studied English. So I'm going to talk about it from now, okay? And anyway, I'm wearing this one to cool my neck so that I won't get too hot. All right. So I started studying English when I was 28, when I was still a homemaker or housewife, okay, with 2 kids back then. And after I started studying English, shortly after, okay, my 3rd daughter was on the way, but at that time I only had 2 daughters. Okay. Oh, anyway, my talk could be too long, so maybe I should say more compactly in the beginning, and then I'll talk more about it. Okay. So I started studying English when I was 28 from scratch, and mostly I taught myself how to speak English, but I sometimes asked some teachers to teach me English, okay? And when and how, okay? And it's over, right? Okay. And so how did I started listening to radio programs. It's a language program offered by NHK. It's an official, no, not official, National Broadcasting Corporation. Okay, I don't know what it stands for. Okay, but national, it's Japanese Broadcasting Corporation, and this is the only. When I pronounced corporation, I didn't touch my tongue on the roof of my upper jaw, right? I have to be very careful about this every time I speak, okay? This is one of the advice. Is it okay? One of the piece of advice that I was given a little while ago from someone who was watching my videos, and I'm really grateful for this also. Okay. And yeah, I started studying English when I was 28 from scratch. Why I started studying English all over again? Because I was just interested in English back then. I didn't understand English at all, and I thought that if I start studying English now, could I be a decent speaker? And that was a very big interest for me back then. And I decided to listen to language learning program on the radio because it's the most economical way, and everyone can listen to it for free, okay? But you need to buy a text, because it's more helpful if you can look at the texts, right? So I had to start over. And why did I start it over? Because I heard that before studying English all over again, it would be much faster if you start it all over again. Okay, some people tend to think that for example, I've learned English at school for a certain amount of time, many years, so I don't have to go back to the beginning. And but this is not always the best idea, because when you go back to the beginning, okay, you can review lots of things, right? And reviewing is very important when it comes to language learning. So it's much faster. It ends up. I can't make this sentence. Okay. I'm getting hotter and hotter actually. Okay. It's quite annoying. Okay. So I decided to go back to the very beginning, and the radio program would start at 6 a.m. And there were the same program they had. Okay, they still now have so many programs. Okay, depending on the level. Okay, and there were so many programs back then also. And the program I was listening to was the easiest one. Okay, the English program that junior high school student, 7th graders would listen to. Okay, and it started at 6 a.m. and the next time at 2 p.m. Okay, and the last time at 6 p.m. Okay, I was able to listen to the same program 3 times a day. And since I was a housewife, and so I was able to listen to the same program 3 times a day. Okay, it was good for me because I was able to review what I learned in the morning. Okay, I was able to review in the evening something that I learned in the morning, right? And not only that, I listened to all the programs. Whether it be the program for the easiest one or the most difficult one. Anyway, I spent all day listening to all the programs. Okay, but of course I couldn't understand other programs because English was much more difficult. Okay, in those programs, right? But I also heard that listening to various kinds of English programs for different levels, all kinds of levels. Like in those days, I was listening to the easiest one, right? So it was impossible for me to listen to something easier. But if I learned something the next day, what I learned the day before could be easier for me, right? In this case, I was able to listen to something that I already learned beforehand. Okay, most of the programs were difficult for me, but when you expose yourself to many kinds of things, like easier ones, more difficult ones, okay, it could be very helpful for your language learning. And I can explain it why now, but when you learn languages, you should listen to various kinds of things. In this way, you can make your language learning more effective, and this way you can nurture your language. I don't think I'm explaining it very well, but okay, in those days I heard this, so that's why I was trying to do this. Okay, so I spent almost all day listening to all the programs the entire day, throughout the day. I just let the radio on, okay, and I continued to listen to the radio. Yeah, from time to time, the station, okay, the radio station had other programs, okay, which were not related to language learning. So in such a time, in such a case, I turned the radio off, okay, and watched TV programs. Okay, in those days we didn't have any internet, we didn't have any social networks, of course, so we had more time to focus on, for example, language learning, right? Yeah, we can use internet to for our language learning, and it's even more helpful though. Okay, by the way, not by the way, okay, where was I? Yeah, I was listening to radio programs the entire day, almost the entire day, and in those days I was having my side job. I sewing, okay, by sewing, I had two big sewing machines that professional people used, and I was sewing like napkins or hats, caps, or something like that, because that was the only job that I was able to do in my house with little kids. So, but that was the best job for me, because while I was working, I was able to listen to as much English as possible. And in those days, there was still CD. Yeah, already already had CDs, but I was still using tapes, okay, music tapes. So I record all those programs on my tape, and then I edit it myself by using two cassette recorders, okay, and I made my own language learning cassette tapes, okay, and I took out all the explanations in the program, because it's in Japanese, right? So I didn't need to listen to the Japanese explanation anymore. So I cut all those unnecessary parts, and to make it more compact one, okay, only English, and I make English sentence repeat many times, so that just by listening to the tape, practically I was able to listen to the same sentence over and over again, and it's good for my repetition, right? And so that way I was really enthusiastic about improving my English, because I was quite new to that subject, right, to that field, and I was really enthusiastic, and I don't know how to say this in other words. I was just given an advice to use different words instead of using the same words or same word or same words, expressions over and over again. Yeah, I really want to do this, but somehow when I speak, it's very difficult, which means that all those synonyms or antonyms or other ways of saying things, explaining things, are not actually internalized in me, in my mind, in my brain. So that's the cause of this problem. So in order for me to get used to more ways of things, more ways of saying things in different ways, I think that I should write more, right? Because when you write, it takes me more time. I mean, I can use more time to think about it, right? And so that I can choose alternative words and expressions, right? Well, and I think that I'm now speaking quite slowly, right? And this morning, I was just curious to know what I was doing many years ago, what kind of English I was speaking or something. And I recorded my voice on my app, voice memo app. Is it okay? Voice memo, right? And I choose some from like 2015, 17, 16, 17, okay. And I assumed that before starting listening to all those voices, okay, recordings of my voice speaking in English, I tended to assume that I was not doing as good as I am doing now. But I was totally wrong. I'm totally wrong. I was totally wrong because I was quite surprised to hear myself speaking in English back in somewhere between 2015, 2017, okay. Because I was able to speak much faster than I am now, and I was quite astonished, appalled even. And why? I don't know. Maybe because I was younger, maybe because I was more excited about speaking English. I don't know. And actually, I was quite impressed by what I was doing back in 2015, 16, 17. Okay, I never thought that I would be impressed by myself. I mean, me in the past. Because I sounded really cheerful and easygoing and take it easy. And I don't know why, but my rhythm when speaking in English was quite nice, okay, very rhythmic. And I'm not sure if I'm speaking like that, maybe in a little bit slower way, I hope. But I sounded very energetic and cheerful and happy. So when I was listening to my own recording back in 2015, I was encouraged by myself, okay. And I didn't expect this kind of thing would happen. So it was quite refreshing to me. Okay, anyway, back in, when I was 28, I started studying English, right? And that was a good job. I was doing that, and I was making my own cassette tapes. And this is what I'm doing right now too, but in a more easier way, because we can use the editing app on my iPad. I just videotape or record something that I want to use for my studying material, practice material, and I can edit it so that I can make the better version of the studying material for only myself. Okay, and I let it just play while I'm doing something else, and it's also good for my repetition. It's like a robot, right? Robot. I'm just using it in order to let it work for me, and it's very useful and it's very convenient. I don't have to buy any kind of studying material from bookstores or from Amazon or somewhere. I just can use my own studying materials using all those things available on YouTube, for example, right? It's very convenient nowadays. And where was I? Yeah, and my first year was okay, and the second year I decided to join in this circle called Kusukusu Club, and kusukusu means chuckling in Japanese, I think. Chuckle or chuckle, is it okay? Laugh, okay, in a happier way. The circle is a group of people. All those people were housewives with small kids, okay, because those mothers couldn't find any place to use their English. So this one woman, this mother, decided to make a group so that they could join and practice their English with this Canadian teacher. She was in her 20s. She was from Canada, and she was a very cheerful woman. And once a week on Mondays, we went there to have conversations with the native teacher, and we had two groups, the easier group and the more difficult group. Okay, the level, we had two levels. Okay, and I was in the easier group, but my first day I had to introduce myself to the teacher, but I couldn't make myself understood very well to the teacher, and I was shocked because that was almost my very first time to talk to a native English speaker. I used to join in a kind of English class supported by or offered by some missionaries, the religious people, back in when I was in high school, no high school, junior high, or yeah, maybe junior high. I already started studying English at school, but I didn't have any experience of speaking English with people because my English was still like a baby. So I never be able to speak English, not a single word. But my friend and I decided to join this club, and we quite enjoyed being with our teachers who were probably from Britain or America. I don't remember, but okay. So back to the story of my first conversation with my native teacher. I was really nervous and I got shocked, okay, because I couldn't make myself understood. But after studying from the radio program for the entire year, I totally believed that I was ready to have conversations with native speakers or other people in English, but that was a total mistake of mine. I didn't know anything about English conversations or what English conversations are all about. So I was quite naive. Okay. And when my first year, when I was listening to the radio program, on Sundays, no, on Saturdays, okay, they have their programs 6 days a week from Monday to Saturday, and on Sundays they didn't have any programs. And on Saturdays they had this special program, and they had English songs on that day. And I was really looking forward to listening to all those English songs on Saturdays, every Saturday, because I used to play a keyboard in a band. I'm a music person, and when I listen to all those English songs, like popular songs or very famous old English songs, okay, like Old MacDonald had a farm, or like Carpenter songs or Beatles songs, okay. Some pronunciation of English word sounded totally different. Different from the English words that I had in mind in those days. Some particular sounds, like the sound of D or T, and I didn't understand how I should do to make the same sound. And that was something that I was interested in the most, maybe. And I always thought about this, okay, but I couldn't find the answer for such a long time afterwards. And mostly I studied for a test, okay. I bought a textbook for the test at the bookstores, and I did problems written in the textbook, and it helped me improve my English a lot for the next 2 or 3 years. And after 3 years, since I started studying English from scratch, I was quite okay back then already. I had this opportunity to take English conversation lessons about 100 times, 50 times, I forgot, but as many as 50 times for free, because I was watching this TV program in the morning. It's a morning show I used to watch every morning with my kids, okay. And there was this corner, okay. The viewers could get the chance to get something for free, like present or something, okay. In that program, in that corner, they offered some things to give to the viewers, and I applied for it, okay. In those days, yeah, as I said, there was no internet, so the only measure that I was able to take was to write a postcard, okay. I applied for it by writing my information and my message on a postcard, and I sent it to them. And luckily, I was chosen as the person who was given the opportunity to get the English conversation lessons for free, I was really lucky. And I started taking lessons from native speakers one or two times, 2 or 3 times a week. Okay, it helped me improve my speaking skills to some extent, but I was always struggling to know how to improve my speaking skills. Okay, but mostly I studied for a test. So for this test called step test. Okay, again, I don't know what step stands for. Okay, but Society English Test Proficiency or something like that. Okay, and by the time it has been about 3 years, my level was quite okay. I was able to have conversations with native English speakers to some extent, but I always thought that something was missing. Always. I still don't know what expressing my thoughts and feelings in English were all about, and it took me such a long time until I finally found the answer. Okay, it's a long story. Okay, it's a really long story, so I cannot explain it in just one video. But I should practice. I think I should practice to make the story more compact. Okay, so that I can talk about it, the whole journey until just recently, in just one video, like 20-minute video or so. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, in the future, from now, so that I can do it in the near future. Okay. Anyway, I once learned English from this teacher living in a different prefecture, and the prefecture is located in the middle of between Tokyo and Nagoya, where I live. Okay, it's Shizuoka. It's famous for its green tea. Okay, it's a very large prefecture, and it's very famous for its green tea and anything else. I don't know, but it's a very famous, very good prefecture, and the teacher was there. Okay, I happened to find this teacher back in 2007 or 8, and I was struggling with my spoken English specifically, and I found this teacher on the internet, and I decided to commute to the school, his school, and it took about 3 hours by car, but I really wanted to learn English from him. Okay, and I had some tapes that I recorded during his lesson, during the lesson I was having with him, and a year ago or so I listened to it. Okay, and without knowing what kind of lesson it was actually back then, and I started listening to the tape, and there was my voice in it, of course, and I was able to hear the other person's voice, and I thought that was my teacher, and his English sounded like English spoken by native English speaker. So but I didn't know who it was, and there were many native English teachers that I had talked to, Okay, so I couldn't understand who it was. And as I listened more to our conversations in English, I understood finally who it was. It was actually that teacher of the English school in Shizuoka. He's actually Japanese. Okay, he's a university professor. He started studying English when he was in university, and he was such a hard worker, and he's a very creative person actually, and he taught himself how to speak practically, literally, and he sounded like native speaker. I didn't notice this back then when I was learning from him, so it was quite surprising to me. And this shows how, I don't know, what a hard worker he is. I was quite impressed by him. I respect him so much. And okay, back then I was preparing for the test. Okay, the test I was talking about, the step test, especially the second test, which was an interview test. I already passed the first round written test somehow. I had no idea why I was able to pass this first round test in the first place. Okay, because my English level was not very high. My English level was not high enough to be able to pass the first grade of that step test. Actually, it is the most difficult grade, the highest grade, and I just tried to take the test, and I somehow passed it. But I couldn't believe this, because in those days I didn't feel that I was able to understand English very well myself. My listening comprehension or reading comprehension, and I wasn't able to speak English very well either. So I don't know how to explain this, but I didn't have this 実感が持てない in Japanese. I didn't know how to say this, but I didn't feel that I was able to English very well back then. Okay, so I couldn't believe why I was able to pass the test in the first place. But I had to prepare for the second test, which would take place 1 month after the first written test. Okay, so I only had 1 month to prepare. But if I skip this opportunity, okay, I can just skip this opportunity, and I can also skip. I was able to skip the 2 more chances to take the second round interview test if I was already passed. Already passed the first round test. So I wouldn't have to take the second round test in a month. Okay, but I was really I really wanted to pass the interview test this time around. So I decided to depend on the teacher of the school in Shizuoka, and I thought that this person is the best, would be the best. And I visited Shizuoka to attend his school several times, okay. But in the end, I decided not to take the second round interview test because I realized that my spoken English was not enough yet. So I thought that I would need more time to prepare to improve my spoken ability in a real sense. And in those days, back in 2008, it has been such a long time since I started studying English when I was 28, but still I was struggling with my spoken English, and I didn't know what speaking English was all about back then. And especially as for the second interview test, we have to make a speech, 2-minute speech with this 1-minute preparation time, and 5 topics were given and we can choose one from those 5, okay, and those topics are related to social manners or current topics or social problems or something like that. So very intelligent topics, right? So in order to pass the test, we have to speak English fluently, but we have to have our opinions on such subjects, right? Basically, we can prepare for any kinds of topics. We have to prepare for all those topics, and so I had to read lots of articles about those topics, and also I had to improve my speaking skills and writing skills also, because for the first round test there was this essay problem, and I had to write a certain essay. Okay, so in order to pass both the first round test and second round test, I had to do lots of things, okay, and it was too much for me back then, and I was not confident enough. But that was a very good experience for myself. I mean, I had lessons with the teacher, okay, but what I was doing in those classes offered by him was a bit too difficult for me to do. What I was doing was to pick up any one piece of article, okay, from all those newspapers they had in their class, in their office, all those English newspapers, okay, and pick one article for my next lesson, okay, and I brought it to my house, and for the next week I read it thoroughly, and I make a short version of the story article, and and the next time when I went there, I talked about it in front of the teacher, okay. I would explain what the article was all about, but it was really difficult for me. I should have chosen more easier story, like the stories that kids read Okay, but since they have English newspapers that were quite difficult, like native English speakers would read, those newspapers were a bit too difficult for me back then. Yeah, even now. So I chose an article on nuclear something, like nuclear plant or something, and the topic was too huge and I couldn't handle it myself. So I thought that on my way there, while I was driving, it would be okay for me to think about the article, and but it was totally impossible for me because while you are driving, you would have to concentrate on driving, right? You couldn't read any newspaper article every time you stop at each signal. No, it's totally impossible, right? And besides, in addition to that, I would have to make it more compact, like paraphrase the story. It was totally impossible, and now that looking back, what was I doing? Because I was preparing for the lesson in the car on my way there. Wasn't I prepared for it beforehand? This is my simple question. Okay, myself. I don't know what I was doing back then. Okay, I tended to put things off. So, is this just one of my bad habits? I don't know. Okay, anyway. So this topic is too huge, and I always talk about some of my language journey here and there repeatedly, and I consider it as my practice. Okay, yeah, it's better for me to write about it. Okay, write about it, and but I don't write very often nowadays. So that was my bad. Okay, anyway, how long? 47 minutes. Okay, anyway, it's been a long time, and learning English for Japanese people is very challenging, I guess, very difficult for us to do. But the most important thing I now think is that you have to have your own opinion, right? So that you can express your thoughts and opinions and to people in front of you, so that you can make yourself understood. But it could be a long journey, right? And when I just started, I was talking about this somewhere before, though. Okay, just before I started studying English, okay, I read this newspaper article or advertisement on newspaper. Okay, it was a story of this guy, a novelist or someone, and who studied English to some extent, and who went abroad to try his English. Okay, he learned some basic conversation phrases. Okay, and he thought that he was ready. And in a bar in a foreign country, I think it's an English speaking country somewhere, and he tried his English to have conversations with local people, and he was able to make himself understood to some extent. But it was when he realized for the first time that there is some kind of English above, what he did, in Japan beforehand. So with the English ability he had back then, at that time, can't reach. So at the beginning, like, hello, how are you? I'm someone, I'm from somewhere, or what do you do? I do this and that, and something like that. My hobbies are, those are okay, but after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, conversations got deeper, and he was talking with local people, and the local people don't know much about Japanese people, English spoken by Japanese people, or even English spoken by other countries. Yeah, but in case of America, they have immigrants, right? They know a lot about English spoken by other countries, right? With their strong accent or something, right? So it must not have been very new to them, but it's not about accent or something. It's more about natural phrases that native speakers normally use. We often hear in movies or dramas, there are certain kinds of English that we can't tackle if we just learned some basic English phrases, some English that we study at school. Yeah, it is true. I think so. But at that time, it was even before I started studying English, I had no idea. I totally had no idea what that guy on the advertisement was talking about. And it actually got me interested in English even more. And it must have had something to do with not just the language, right, but also the culture, right? And while I was studying English, I heard this story also. If you speak English correctly, and if your grammar is perfect, sometimes you cannot make yourself understood. Or if your English is perfect, if your sentences are perfect, if you speak perfect sentences, it's not always true that you can make your English understood by people, especially from other countries. And when I heard this, I had no idea what it was all about. But now I understand it very much, because we tend to learn English with our mindset, Japanese people's mindset. But even though we use the same language to communicate with totally different mindset, we cannot communicate in a real sense, right? Like we, when we write, especially when we write, the conclusion comes at the last, or even we speak or we talk to people, maybe we put the conclusion at the end, because we tend to think that the most interesting part. So the most interesting part is the more interesting we can make the story. Is it okay? We can make the story. So and we call it Kisho Tenketsu in Japanese. And you use this method when you write an essay in English also, but in a different way. Okay, in this way, when we speak, we have to put the conclusion first, right? When we speak English, or we tend to sound vague so that we can sound more polite. This is totally in Japanese way. This is totally the Japanese way. But people from other countries, like English-speaking countries, for example, they don't express themselves this way, right? They try to express themselves clearly, right? So that the other person can understand you very well. But for us, it's too direct, so we tend to sound vague, and so that the other person has to imagine we are trying to say, okay, we don't say 100%, we say like 40%, 50%, and we try to express our true feelings by our facial expressions or our vagueness. Okay, like we never say no, but we say instead it's difficult. And when we hear the other person say it's difficult, it means no. Okay, this is very natural for us. So, but when we say this, or when we express ourselves this way to people from other countries, they get us wrong, right? It's totally natural for them to get us wrong, right? That's why if we don't know about something like this, okay, even though we speak their language, we can't always make ourselves understood. So this is something that I learned while I was learning or during my language journey. And when I see someone, even now, okay, when I see someone speaking English, I sometimes understand that this person doesn't fully understand the importance of cultural difference or something like that, because they sound very vague, okay. But I've been there, okay, I've been there myself. But if your English level is above a certain point, certain level, then probably this person understands it, the cultural difference, the different mindset, okay. But when your English level is still below the certain level, they don't understand such things very much. And as your English level goes up, I think the more your level goes up, the more you begin to understand other things than just the language. I don't know why, but it's very interesting. Okay, it's one of the things that makes my language learning language learning very interesting actually. Okay, there are many more things that I want to talk about my language learning, language journey so far, but I have been talking about 1 hour, right? So I want to call it a day here, and I feel sorry if I didn't sound very clear to people who are listening to this, because I haven't prepared anything, and but this is my practice. So I'm trying to get used to speaking English itself. That's why I really want to make the most of my opportunity, most of my time. This is the reason I use my YouTube channel for my practice. All right, and okay, it's really hot in here, so I'd better go out as soon as possible. Okay, all right, thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to leave your comment in the comment section. Okay, I'm really looking forward to it. Now I have more comments. Okay, and I really appreciate that, and I feel grateful for that. And thank you very much for watching my channel, watching my videos. And so I really hope that you have a wonderful new week. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye bye.